Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another AfterBuzz After Show for Madam Secretary. We are here with Just Another Normal Day, episode 4 of our premiere season. And in spirit in studio today, we have a special guest. We have Erich Bergen. He's on our Skype screen.
Hi.
So I'm your host, Courtney Henderson, and with me in studio today, I've got...
Hello, I'm Sterling Cates.
Well, we just kind of want to pick your brain to start, I think.
Oh my God, it's 2 a.m. where I am, so be careful how much picking you do.
He is calling us from New York. That is how dedicated he is to the show and to the fans. So we thank you for coming.
I really just wanted to show off my luxurious New York apartment.
Oh, give us a little tour.
No.
No tour. But so you film in New York.
Yeah.
So you lived there before that, though, we know, because you did Jersey Boys.
Well, actually, it's funny. I was born and raised here in Manhattan, but then when I was 20 years old, I left and went on the road with Jersey Boys. I never did it on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
And did it on the road and in Las Vegas for 2 years. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and I've been there ever since. We just did the movie of Jersey Boys last summer, and that was sort of my final hurrah in L.A., and this little show called Madam Secretary moved me back to New York City.
Back to home?
I like how you said little show. Tia Leone, just some little show.
Yeah, CBS on Sunday nights, little
just this little new gig you got going.
yeah, whatever.
So tell us a little bit about what it's been like working on this show and being on a network TV show and hit series. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's something that I've never done before. Every project that I've always done has had an end date in sight. Mm-hmm. I suppose, in the theater, I've done a couple of shows that, you hope that it runs forever, but that you're going to leave it eventually. So it's very interesting to sort of be locked down into something that you truly don't know how long it's going to go on. And obviously the positives and the negatives that come from that. But of course, when you're on a big network TV show, that onslaught of just that combination of show business and corporate and everything, it just comes right in your face. And it was baptism by fire for me because I've never had my own show. So it's been a thrilling experience, but it's been a lot. It's just been a lot at once. And also, living out of a suitcase, because moving back here just like days before we started, I still have boxes that are unpacked. It's been a unique experience.
So, we've talked to lots of people who do, I've talked to people more that do sitcoms, so obviously this isn't a sitcom, you get an hour long. So, yeah. What's like the typical week filming?
Well, it's, you sort of, it takes about 10 business days to film an episode. We don't film on the weekends. Which, coming from the theater world, was such a luxurious thing for me to have my weekends back instead of, 2 shows on Saturday and 2 shows on Sunday. And then, depending on the episode, I'll work everywhere from 3 days per episode to, 7 days for an episode. So it just differs as to how much I'm in the episode. But it'll be a day of nothing at all. They're just literally just waiting at my house to find something to do. And then the next day it'll be up at 4 a.m, and we'll film until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's just very weird, as opposed to someone like Taya, who really does have a set schedule. She's up at 4:30 a.m. every day and done at 9 o'clock every single day, if not more.
Right.
Her workload is insane.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, you all seem like a pretty tight-knit group on the show. It's very quick. It seems really easy. So talk a little bit about the dynamic between, the team of people that are under Madam Secretary.
We're a bit of a island of misfit toys. For a lot of us, this is our first big TV thing. And for a lot of us, this is also like, another gig. There are people who have been on the show who have been on this show who have been on many legendary TV shows. Think of D.B. Newworth first off, Jelko Ivanek. I mean, there's so many. When I was first getting involved in the show, every name I heard, I knew immediately. I mean, there are some legendary actors on this show. Keith Carradine, who plays the president, was a hero of mine. He played Will Rogers in the Will Rogers Follies on Broadway. It was like a musical theater hero of mine. And that is also, the cast is made up of theater actors. Bibi, Jelko, me, Patina, Jeffrey. All these people, we all sort of come from not the Hollywood life. We're all sort of like just want to have a great piece of writing and have a great gig, and it's because we all really come from the theater. And this sort of casual vibe on set, or maybe casual is the wrong word, but just fun and loose and not tense. That vibe really starts at the top, and that's really set by Taya. I mean, she is such a wild, kooky, but the best and like the nicest, the most fun person I've ever worked with. And it takes a lot of energy to be that just normal and star in a major television show and not be worrying about the things that lots of TV stars, worry about, that angle or things like that. I mean, She is such she's a little bit of a tomboy, but then she's also this gorgeous, it's weird with her. She's like everything you would always want as your leader. And that also goes for our producers, Lauren McCreary and Morgan Freeman, and our creator and our writer, Barbara Hall. Everyone is very collaborative and fun. And I kept hearing horror stories about what working on a network television show was like from friends of mine who have done it. But I haven't experienced that at all.
And they're all probably super jealous. You get this. So, working with all of these different people and going to set, do you have these kind of aha moments, just where you're trying to, it's just kind of surreal even still? Or was it really quick because you're obviously a trained seasoned actor, so you're just now getting to do what you love doing on a network show?
That is true, but it's funny because, friends of mine who are in Broadway shows or things and say, oh man, you have it made, you're on a TV show now, it's all set for you. And what they don't realize is like, it's so the opposite. I mean, the thing about theater is it works very simple. You open a show and people buy tickets. When they stop buying tickets, you close. In television, there is this game, first you have to get an audition to be in a TV show. Then you have to get into a pilot. The pilot then has to get picked up. Then when the pilot gets picked up, it has to go through, is it good enough to be picked up for the full season? And then you have to be picked up for season 2. It's like an endless amount of anxiety. You're wondering why I'm up at 2 a.m. right now. It's because I'm waiting for our numbers to come in from tonight's episode. It really is a very intense thing. And that's something that a lot of us who are new to this world are sort of like, that's the thing that we sort of talk about on the ride to work every morning. Or as the seasoned pros are like, well, whatever it is. And I'm like, so yeah, the aha moments, there's a lot of them, not just on the business side, but also just, in front of the camera, because it's so fast. So you have to, working with actors that you trust and train actors, because everything is happening so fast and there's no time to think about the things that you learned in drama school. What did my character have for breakfast? I mean, that is really out the window. So you really rely on working with other people who are really masters at their craft. And this show is obviously filled with them.
What was the casting process for you, like, specifically? Was it a part that you were after, or how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, I got a script sent to me by my agent, and sent me the script out of interest, and the part was described as, actually, it's funny, I can pull it up in my email on this exact laptop, my original audition sheet. It says something like, young, very put together, Kennedy-esque assistant. And that immediately was like, okay, that I get that. I totally get the sort of like that stuck up thing and very sort of regal or, East Coast, Cape Cod type thing. And I read the script, and instantly as I was reading the script, I knew that I would be watching the show this fall. I immediately thought, oh, I'll watch this. Like, this is great. Like, this feels like a solid, this isn't an artsy, weird script that I'm like, what's going on? I don't know. This script is very clear. I felt like I knew what the show was. I could see the camera angles right as I was reading it. And I loved the character. I mean, I knew exactly what to do with this character. And so I set up an audition. The casting director is a man named Mark Sachs, who also cast The Good Wife, and he's cast every show under the sun. And I've actually known Mark since I was 10 years old. And so my agent set up an audition and went in, and 2 auditions later, and then the extremely scary testing process happened, and got a call. It was sort of a very basic by-the-book audition. There wasn't much of a crazy story involved.
Wow. Oh, this actually goes along with this really perfectly. I just got a Twitter question from @MeredithAParks, and it says, ask Erich how he celebrated when he found out he booked Madam Secretary, and if he can sing us something.
If I can sing you something, really, it should be a Madam Secretary theme song. I don't know. Maybe in honor of BB, it should be like a rewording of Cheers theme song. Sometimes you want to go wherever. No, that's it.
There we go. Yeah, we love it.
What did I do? What was the first thing I sell? Oh, I bought a bag at Louis Vuitton. That's
nice.
The
That's how you know you've made it.
I bought luggage because I was moving to New York and I was going to do it in style.
I love it. That's what I would have done, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Will we get to see more of your character in the, as the season progresses? Do you get insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, the way that they're writing, what I've been noticing is that the way they sort of write my character is that there's a lot of crazy stuff happening and a lot of dramatic and intense stuff, and then when the writers decide that the audience needs a break from that, they cut to me. And but actually, I do get more involved with the actual government side of things a little bit, starting actually with the next episode. But like, for example, I'll have this next episode that you guys will see next weekend, and actually the one that we're filming right now, I'm very much involved. But there's a flashback episode that happens. I think it's like episode 8 or 9, maybe it's episode 9, and I'm barely in that. It's just sort of whatever it is. I mean, and they're also. We're only on episode 10 right now. I think the writers are up to episode 12. So, we're still figuring it out. We're not that far ahead of where you guys are watching. So we're still figuring it out as we go along. And I'm definitely more involved coming up.
Good. I think that's something from, watching, just like you said, this is so early on. We're on episode 4 tonight. When we first got introduced to the staff, or, her staff, or Marsha's staff that became her staff, it was so fun to see you, kind of like what you were saying. You're that nice breath of fresh air from all of the intensity, but not in a flighty, kind of dumb way. You can still tell you're intelligent, you're with it, you're put together. And from the beginning, you're on her team, which makes us who love her and her character
love you already. Yeah.
Right. And that's really the thing. I mean, is that she has so many people, she has walked into this job that has so much going against her. She doesn't know how to play the games that everyone else is used to. And all of these people, they really belong to Marsh. They were all Marsh's guys. and girls. But she has a lot of people that she doesn't know who to trust. And she has people who turn on her and change on her. And I'm sort of her one mainstay, her one sort of solid thing that she can, turn to. And so, yeah, that's a great thing to have. And that's I feel that Taya and I definitely have that kind of relationship now, and the characters do as well. So, yeah, I love that as well.
Good.
Talking about tonight's episode, there's something. What is the end of Henry's joke that he brings up in every scene? Do you know? Were you guys tossing around ideas, or was it not funny, so it wasn't included?
I don't know if they wrote it. I don't know if it exists. All I know is, we did a couple of different takes of the moment when he starts to tell me the joke, and just because we let the camera roll, Tim would have to improv the rest of the joke every take. And you only get a, full thing in, but one time Eric Stoltz, who was directing the episode, let him go a few moments. I was like, what are you talking about? But no, there is no end to that joke, which actually then begs the question, who said what to get Taya to laugh in the scene wherein she's hearing the full joke in her office?
Right, exactly. Well, I watched the episode with captions at the bottom, and there were words that, like, he was saying on the other end of the phone. It was like Henry, and then it said something, but we couldn't. That wasn't included in the audio. So I don't know. I don't even remember what the caption said, but it was like some part of the joke. I'm gonna go look at that after we get out of here.
Oh wow! I didn't. Why are you watching it with captions?
We always do.
There's a setting on your TV that you can fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk to the AfterBuzz people about that.
I like watching it with captions just because, a lot of times we take notes because there's specific things that we want to recall when we come on to the after shows. And so, for instance, again, talking about tonight's episode, we have this girl from China. Her name is Xingpei.
Jinpei.
Jinpei.
I think it's Xinpei.
It was.
Yeah.
And I know that because of the captions.
Right, exactly. It lets us know how to spell it,
So that's part of why we use it, or the treaty talks that they had, the Henkashu Islands treaty talks.
Wow, very good.
It's the captions.
And I paused it so I could spell it correctly in my notes. So here we are.
Very impressive. You ladies know how to spend a Sunday night.
We really do.
With you.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, if you remember at all, kind of in filming this episode, we didn't see you as much as I would have liked, because I like that breath of fresh air and kind of that comedic wit that your character brings, especially the banter with you and the other members of her staff.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I feel the same way.
Good. You like seeing. So, are you comfortable watching yourself? Are you someone that doesn't like to see your work?
No, I never I can't watch myself when I know I've done bad. Like, I can't go back and watch something where I know I screwed up, like on live television or things like that, and I've screwed up. I can't, like, weird moments that I know about leaving that live moment and I know it's there. I won't watch that. That I get really uncomfortable about. But anything else that, I did it until I was satisfied with it. Yeah, I can watch that. That doesn't bother me. And it's fun for me to watch the shows, because actually the only episodes I had seen were I had seen the pilot, back over the summer after we filmed it in March, and then episode 2, they've been doing these screenings for us like a few days before it airs on TV. They'll show it for us at the production office in Brooklyn, and I watched episode 2 and before I saw it on TV, and I hated it in the production office, because I think the sound wasn't mixed. Like, they had an unfinished raw version, and it left me with this weird feeling. And then we watched it on TV, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. So now, it's really made for television, and to really experience it with the breaks and the commercials and sound and color corrected for TV and all those things. So now I said, I'm not watching those not final cuts of it yet. I want to watch it on TV like everyone else. So that's what I do now. I watch it on Sunday nights with the rest of America and the world.
And you've been live tweeting it as well. You do the East Coast and the West
live
Coast.
tweeting, which I do, but I do not like because A, I'm trying to watch the show. I haven't seen it yet, and B, that means you're not watching, but people like it, so I do it.
I like it. I don't like doing it though. I'm with you on that. I want to watch the show and just watch.
But then if you're watching it, how are you looking at Twitter? I mean, I don't know.
I always have to pause, tweet, check my timeline, and then continue.
So we have a 30-minute or 1 hour show that is now 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And we fast forward through commercials. There's a whole science to it here.
I don't live tweet my shows because I want to just sit and watch the show.
Well, and you're going to talk about it for 30 minutes after.
Right. Or here's what I worry about. I have people following me on Twitter that have no interest in this show. And I'm like, are they now checking their Twitter? Like, oh God, I have to deal with this random person's tweeting about this. Worries me the people I'm losing by the minute that don't care.
About this particular show?
Yes. Like my parents. No.
Oh, but they care about you.
They do. They love the show. They watch it, and they love The Good Wife, so then they keep watching.
Oh, I love The Good Wife, too.
Oh, I know.
Sunday nights, call me old. Sunday nights are like my night of television.
60 minutes.
The numbers for our show are crazy good. I mean, the number of eyeballs watching. Then you look at who's watching, and you go, well, okay, so we're going to advertise Viagra and all those things. But listen, I'm with you. I was watching CBS Sunday nights anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just gave me a reason to keep it on CBS.
See?
So I was so excited to see that the show was coming on, and now watching it, for us, we talk. I don't know that you watch our after shows, but on the first episode,
I did. I had never heard of you guys, and then as soon as you guys asked me to do this, I watched the last two.
Well, thank you.
Oh, sure.
We appreciate that. You can Skype in anytime you want. We just have your faces.
I would like to talk about some. Let's go back and talk about like the Mary Tyler Moore show. Do you have like retro nights?
I mean, we could probably set something up. Just Skype in. We could just open up AfterBuzz New York.
Who can take a nothing day? I'm sorry.
There we go.
Don't apologize. Sing all you want. So when you watch these, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation. This character is based on Hillary Clinton, or
God.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that? Because there have been so many different articles and stuff on the internet.
It's lazy journalism. Mm-hmm. If you say this is the Hillary Clinton show, you have failed at your job, whatever that is. If you're a reporter who says that, then you have failed at your job, or you haven't watched the show. When that was coming out and being talked about, I totally got it. When were happening, I completely get the idea that, okay, we see this woman in the position of Secretary of State. She's blonde. Yes, she wears some pantsuits sometimes. Totally get that people put that with Hillary. But all you have to do is watch one episode and realize this has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton, as my perspective anyway, is a career politician. She is a woman who has made her life politics, the good and the bad. And she's been doing this forever. And she really eats, sleeps, breathes politics. Regardless of what you think about her politics, she is a career politician. This is the exact opposite. This is a woman who has nothing to do with politics, wants nothing to do with politics, but decides to serve her country because an old friend asked her to. And she felt it was the right thing to do. Other than that, and some shoulder-length blonde hair, I'm sorry, not counting that, but other than shoulder-length blonde hair, some pantsuits, and the fact that she's a woman, This has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. And when people go on and on about that, to me, it's just a cheap, you missed your story. You missed you missed the point.
And they're missing some quality television if they're not tuning in because of that.
Well, that's the other thing. And, when people want to go off about, that this is some conspiracy to elect Hillary Clinton president,
It's just getting frustrated over there.
New topic.
You have to
Anyway.
realize, listen, for a lot of people outside of show business, everyone thinks they know how this side of the industry works. No one knows anything. I mean, no one knows anything. I mean, I barely know anything, and I'm in it. So it's always amusing to me to hear. It's like that classic thing of when, your Aunt Sally tells you, oh, you should be in more of those movies. You should be in one of those movies. Like, oh, really? Because that's how you think it's done. You just be in the movies.
That easy.
It's just so interesting to me what people think goes on, that this show is some, conspiracy to do that. But all I know is every single script is fictional. This is a fictional character. I don't see one single relatable thing to Hillary Clinton other than the three things I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And so working on a show like this and having that sort of have been, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I mean, having that comparison made, and now, because that was something in the beginning, we're like, okay, is this going to turn into that? And we've seen, one of the episodes, Not Another Benghazi, well, that's actually referencing a real life historical thing that the country went through.
Right. But it would be a Hillary Clinton show if they decided to not mention Benghazi, do something similar to what happened in Benghazi, and then turn her into, use points of what Hillary went through and try to reshape history.
Right.
But that's not what happened. We're saying from the beginning, this is something similar. Let's not have another thing of what happened that time with Benghazi. We're using that as a jumping off point, but has nothing to do with that. Does it bug me? No, I think actually in the beginning it's great. It became a talking point. It was controversial, and that gets eyeballs and it gets people talking. It was just frustrating when people were writing it off, and then you would find out they had never watched it.
That's understandable.
That was the annoying part.
Of course. Well, and in bringing up, the Not Another Benghazi, like The Good Wife, maybe it's a CBS thing. Maybe these writers and the network is good at this, because I like referencing things that are real, because I know for myself, yes, I remembered, Benghazi, and I kind of vaguely remembered everything that I saw when it happened, but I went back and actually read up on it more because I wanted to see how similar what you guys went through was and what actually happened was, to see the differences. And I felt like it's kind of educated me more and increased my desire to learn about how politics work and how the White House works and how, Madam Secretary or the Secretary of State office works. Like, does she really have the assistant? Does she have the Nadine? Does she have, the speechwriter?
Yeah.
And
I had those questions too. When we went to DC to premiere the show, I met with a couple of people down there and asked them how similar, and they said, oh my God, this is exactly right. That isn't so much, but I like that better. Look, we're trying to create not only an entertaining show, but hopefully a little bit of an inspiring show and an aspirational show. If you notice, no political party has been mentioned. We do not know what political party this president belongs to. And obviously, the Secretary of State does not have a political party because they are not allowed to. We're leaving that out of this. This is not about this. This is about the exact opposite. That's what was so funny to me about the people who were writing in and tweeting in and talking about all these things when they, were going off about, tweeting to me, you crazy Hollywood liberal trying to cover up Hillary. It was like, obviously you haven't watched the show because, first of all, I live in New York. Second of all, there's no parties being mentioned here. Like, it's not anything about that. It's an outsider doing she is us. She is, when we watch the news, and you see some politician doing something, and we're saying, why the hell? What is wrong with you? If I was in power, I would do this. That's what she's doing. She's us. She is the common person being put into a position of power and using her smarts and not her agenda to do her job. That is the inspirational part of our show.
And we've talked to a couple of other after shows about this, about how we like this show so much because other political shows like Scandal and that sort of stuff do have that element of kind of overwhelming drama and that scandalous thing. But this show in particular, like Courtney was saying, is very educational, is very inspiring, and it's kind of like, it's really relatable for us, and me in particular, to be able to understand politics more, because I'm not the most involved person in politics, but this is still really entertaining for me, and I feel like I'm not in a soap opera.
Well, that's great, and we would say that it's like when people talk about Jon Stewart and The Daily Show, saying I get my news from The Daily Show, and he always responds with, well, this isn't a news show, I'm a comedian. We feel the same way. Don't come to us looking for facts. Come to us, and then if you are interested in this subject, like you guys just talked about, you should go and research it more. And it's a really interesting thing. I mean, people talk about the West Wing effect and how it really affected that generation of people a lot of people to go and work in Washington. I mean, I talked about that with some people down there, how a whole generation of people went to work in D.C. because of watching the West Wing. Wouldn't that be great if we had some sort of a similar effect? You'll start to see some things coming up in this season. We don't go to Scandal World, but we have a little fun.
Can you give us any spoilers? A little insight?
Well, Blake's love life comes into play next episode.
Yes. Any hints? Tips?
No.
That's a big hint. I think that,
I know, I was just trying
she's trying to get you to email her the script.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to ask you, kind of talking about this and what you said about Madam Secretary and that character and kind of not having her own agenda, because in each of these episodes so far, we kind of see, the crisis come about, and there's two sides, two ways it could play out, and, we see the way she has it, and I'm sure there's people out there watching that think it should be one. For tonight, tonight's episode with this little girl, or this, 12-year-old girl from China, granting her political asylum or not, I'm sure people watching, some said, yes, let's do it, and others said, no. When you watch, do you find yourself getting, attached to what should happen, even though you know how it's going to end?
Not when I'm watching, because when I'm watching, it's so funny because, we film it on set, and like in tonight's episode, for example, all the stuff that takes place in her office and that long hallway and the dark wood and all that stuff is on set in Brooklyn. But like that big sort of ballroom thing where she's in front of the cameras and she was, they sign the thing and they do the handshake. That was at the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan. It's all supposed to look like one building. For me, I can only see, I remember that day we were filming and I knew where the dressing room was. Like, I'm seeing what I remember that day. So it's very hard for me to really see it as a storyline in the show. When I first get the script for the first time, absolutely. When that script arrives in my email box, it is like Christmas morning. Because it's not like during pilot season for an actor auditioning and those scripts are coming in and you have to read each one and they have to memorize the lines and you have to go into the audition room the next day. Those scripts are coming in, you're going, oh my God, I get to say this. Oh, they're writing for me. Like it's a much more fun experience. And you do find yourself really getting involved in the storyline. And then as you turn the page going, oh, no. Yeah, you really do get involved. And then you'll email the writer and go, but wait, what about if? And they'll write you back and go, nope. So it's like one of those build your own, choose your own adventure books, and you really get to like jump into the video game or the fantasy world of it all and sort of play out these characters. Yeah, you really do find yourself getting involved in should she or shouldn't she, or what, do you like that your character just did that, and how do you come to terms with that as an actor? Oh yeah, I have lots of therapy happening.
What's been your favorite scene to film so far? Or has it been aired yet?
Well, I have to say, the one you saw tonight where I go to her house was very exciting because I had never worked off the office floor. The fact that I got to go into her house was like this alternate universe because it's at a different soundstage down the block, and all the family stuff films there, and they're always together. But I never get to see Tim Daly or any of the kids, and so going in there and seeing like this alternate universe, and they had built the giant. It's a big set, and they had built this giant house that was so gorgeous, and like that was wild. It was like they have their own crew over there, and so that was really really fun. We have a really really fun episode coming up. I think it's either episode 7 or 8. I think it's episode 7. Episode 8. It's her office. We take a little excursion to another country.
Wow.
And some crazy things go down. That was fun to film.
Oh, I
Where
can't
did you
wait.
go? Can you tell us where you go?
I can't. Well, here's the thing.
Just trying to get everything out of
I
you.
don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. They haven't told us what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say.
Well, we don't want to push it.
I mean, well, now it's better to get.
I don't know how much I'm going away. All I would say is that we're traveling internationally, and Blake is very put together. Blake doesn't travel well, and Blake does not enjoy sweating.
So
Good to know.
All of these things, if there's sweat stains involved and his suit is not pressed perfectly, it could be a world crisis more than anything else. So,
you're saying he doesn't get to take his Louis with him?
it's a fun episode. It was also the first time that the one I'm telling you about where we travel internationally, we had to deal with like special effects and what are they called? Stunt people for the first time. And there's a big scene where we were running, and it's fun.
Did you do your own stunts?
Well, yeah, for that episode, yes, all I had to do was walk off camera. But
good.
I got to watch stunt people. Yeah.
Oh, well, we should probably finish breaking down the whole episode. Do you want to stay with us and talk about tonight's episode, or do you want us to let you go to bed because it's, almost 3 a.m?
I'm here. What else are you talking about? What else is there to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about, the treaty. We have this treaty between China and Japan.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a silly, it's one of those where they're going to agree on it, but only if the girl goes back. And then it's also kind of one of those where it's over resources or minerals, and Japan wants to go plant their flag. And if there's a Japanese flag on it, China's going to bomb them.
Yeah, it's basically, they kept referring to it as avoiding World War III. This whole thing is going to break out if they don't sign this treaty. And really, it all rests on whether or not this girl is granted political asylum or not.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of the stuff that the secretary has to deal with is very showy. It's funny because it's like on Veep, she has to deal with all of the things, all of like the stupid leftover projects that the president doesn't have time for. The Secretary of State sort of has to deal with real things. But as you saw in the pilot episode, the whole like the dinner with Swaziland thing,
Yeah.
things that could potentially be just for show or just sort of surface level crap. Or things that are so down to who shakes the hand first, that she actually turns into, she uses it to her advantage, and she uses it to the United States advantage, and she really makes it a thing that's not just show. You see in that first episode again, that dinner with Swaziland, which is really just for show, and they tell her that. She uses it as an opportunity to make sure that the AIDS epidemic is brought to the top of his priority list. So yeah, it's another thing like that. These two things ended up in her lap, and she was able to to use them to actually work together, much like last week's episode.
Yes. And I really kind of want to talk to, just because it's been in the episodes from the beginning, George.
Yes.
And Marsh and Nadine.
Yeah, I was going to ask, were you surprised that Nadine had this relationship with...
Yes.
I don't know. Well, the whole episode, she's always been kind of protective of him, and like in a loyal way, but also like there's something else there.
Well, BB, she's such a phenomenal actress, and I don't know if they told her from the beginning. I think they did. I think they told her from the beginning that she was going to be having, she's had a past with Marsh, but they didn't tell us, or at least they didn't tell me. And I was, she was playing it very intense, and all of a sudden we got to the script, and I was like, oh, she knew. Oh, that's why she played. So she really inhabited this protectiveness of him that, we were all watching these first episodes. And then tonight it's revealed that she's had this past with him. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, she really made that work in 3 previous episodes where it wasn't even addressed, that you were able to pick up on something, and now it was revealed tonight. I mean, she's really phenomenal.
Yeah, and her character is so strictly business. It doesn't seem like she would ever involve her personal life with that world. So it is pretty surprising for her character.
Yeah.
Which I loved, so there's that, and I loved how she was with the script writer, the speech writer, about making sure these remarks matter and making sure that they do him justice.
Well, do you think there's something that she knows there about his death, and whether or not there's some backstory there? If it was,
well, I have the advantage of knowing what plays out in the next few episodes.
Yes.
So maybe.
I just feel like, now we're seeing that Marsh was being accused of wanting to run, and so now the president, these people have been his enemies because he was going to try to basically overthrows maybe an aggressive word because we're a democracy and, we don't have a king, but trying to kind of basically get himself promoted.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out some of it myself, because there's that talk of, did he want to run, and that still continually comes up, but it hasn't been totally answered yet, even the episode that we're currently filming. So I'm still trying to figure it out myself, because there's numerous versions of the facts.
Exactly. Well, but that's what I love about this writing, because we see what seems like all these facts, because Nadine's wanting to make sure these specific details make it into this eulogy, or, this kind of speech. And then, of course, after the fact, we see Madam Secretary talking to the President's Chief of Staff, and he kind of brings this whole new spin to it on, the soccer balls, that wasn't selfless. There was an agenda.
Right.
And so it's, okay, so now who's lying?
Well, I always automatically think it's him. I don't like him.
You think it's...
I mean, the Chief of Staff, since the pilot episode, I'm Team Bess.
He is the world's best bad guy. I mean, Jelko Ivanek is one of those actors. I mean, I loved him from Damages. I mean, that's where I became a big Jelko fan, but... He knows how to get those guys. He always knows something that we don't.
Yeah, and I don't trust him yet.
No, I don't either.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think he's doing his job right, exactly. Because you love to hate him.
I get to make fun of him a little bit in an upcoming episode.
Oh, yay. Yeah. Good.
What can you tell us a little bit about what are Blake's kind of aspirations for, like, where his career is going? Because last week what's the character's name who kind of basically flat out told Madam Secretary that he was planning on riding kind of the coattails to the White House.
Jay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So does Blake have similar aspirations to that, or what kind of where does he stand professionally?
The true answer is I don't know. What I like to believe is that Blake is the world's best assistant. I mean, you know those people who are they show up at the office way overdressed. They're earlier than everyone. They're perfect. Their pencils are in line. Like he's the world's perfect assistant, and prides himself on that. And believe me, I know these people. And he's sort of a career assistant. I mean, that is something that he could be until, his dying day. I mean, he could really be a career assistant. I think what he's starting to see a little bit is, maybe there's a life for him in D.C. because he's new to politics as well. We're sort of playing it that, well, actually I shouldn't say that because I don't know if that's an official thing, but Blake and the secretary have worked together before. But he's new to the political world. So I think, I don't know. I certainly would love to see the character go that way, possibly go into politics. But I just have this thing that like all of it is so not Blake's thing at all. And he's really just there because he loves Secretary McCord and is just there for her. And once she's out, he's out. So I don't know, but I think it would be fun to have him dip his toe in.
Well, what you just said made me think of another question. So you kind of talked about, and I know kind of that person you're talking about, the pencils in line, first one there, last one to leave, kind of a secretary, and they're always the assistant.
It takes the right kind of person to be like that patient and loyal and put your boss above all else.
And as far as like the pay scale goes, like you're nowhere near the top in comparison to everybody in the office, right. But you do it anyway out of this thrill or dedication. But you kind of said and those people. Do you pull from that? Are there kind of people in your real life that Blake is based on?
They're not really based on anyone in particular, but I've certainly been around enough of those types of people. I've also been an assistant myself, so I know what that world is. I know how to keep everyone away from the desk and let me finish this, please, and then I will get to your problem. So I pulled mainly from personal experience because I've been an assistant to some showbiz, creative, very intense people. So I sort of pulled from that, and I certainly pulled from the various people that I've seen in offices and my agent's office, and then really just played off trying to be the opposite of her, because she's so dealing with a million things. How do I get her brain to go? But no one in particular.
All right. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover from the episode is just George, because we know this is one of her good friends. There's been speculation from the beginning about, is this an accident? He thinks her life is in danger now because she's stepped into this role and, Marsha's gone. That was foul play. So what's kind of your take on that? We had mixed feelings in the beginning, kind of like, oh, she's a little cold because she doesn't really react to it, but then, of course, and she doesn't really fight to dig and figure out what really happened. At the same time, like you said, she's got so many things going on. For her to be able to step aside from her job to go detective on a friend doesn't look right. Potentially just kind of, it's going to raise flags you don't want raised.
Well, we see her finally have that emotional moment that she's been needing to have the past few episodes about George's death. And I think when they were at the service for
Marsh.
For Marsh, she kind of realized when the other two characters were saying they think it's they don't think it's an accident for sure. So I feel like that still is kind of making her worry a little bit, and then she's wondering if she should be more emotional or if she should look into it. And at the end of the day, it involves her position as Madam Secretary. So I want to see her dig a little more.
That's all you're gonna give us?
Tell us. I just have to say, my prediction about Stevie's job was way off, about her not actually being a host at her restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
I made a really wild card prediction last week, and it was proven false today.
having gone to watch, so we guess maybe that was just kind of a cover, that she wasn't really a host in a restaurant. She was just like using that as a, I don't know, to get her parents off her back, that she'd maybe taken the copywriting job, or I don't remember what the other guess was, but anyway, so obviously we see that she actually is the hostess in a restaurant, and we get to see this home life that, I mean, the episode, just another normal day, and it's anything but in their household. But do you think that kind of stuff actually happens? I mean, we see Senator Fletcher go there and kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, pass along the message.
Yeah, well, to me, that whole thing was like, I feel like since Stevie is a hostess at a restaurant, going against my prediction, thanks very much. But I think by her doing that, it's kind of going as far as she can away from what's happening from her mom's job. And I feel like she could have been trying to separate herself from that. But then the fact that they're still coming to her and she's still involved very much with, she can't get away from the spotlight that her mom's job like has on her and her family. But what do I know? Look at you over there. I know. What do you think?
I think that would a senator go to the place where the daughter works? I don't know. Maybe that's made for television type thing. But I think what makes this show and what makes, Elizabeth McCord such a great character, going back to this thing I was saying about, she's one of us, is that it is just another normal day. I mean, when we look at our lives and sometimes we tell people a story from our life, that it might be crazy or it might be some weird thing, but, we just sort of got through that day, and then we woke up and we went to the next day and things happened. And then you wake up again and more things happen. I think it is, for someone in that position, it is just another normal day. The kids are arguing, obviously the daughter comes home and some crazy things happen, some big things happen, and obviously she has this big new job. But at the end of the day, she really just does. Wasn't it the last episode where we saw her on, Zappos trying to buy a wedge heel, and so it really does have that just another normal day thing. And I think that's what's so interesting about it. You got to remember, we're coming in once a week, but more than a week goes by each time that we tune in. So it's over the stretch of some time. Of
course. Well, and that's one thing I like about, which we've kind of talked about before, getting to see the home life. And now, at first it was kind of like, well, if she's, Secretary of State, there's no way she gets to be home this much. But as the episodes have evolved, it definitely acknowledges
that she hasn't slept in 4 days. She hasn't been going home. Blake's having to go get her clothes and do all this stuff at the house, which your character, not you in particular, but your character going to her home, and just that act of that. You talked a little bit earlier about how she doesn't really know who she can trust, who is on her team, who isn't. So I think it speaks really highly of Blake's character that he is trusted to go to her home, to her family, to get this information, to get her clothes. So that just shows that she trusts him and that he's loyal. And
I really hope the writers don't have me turn.
Us too.
I hate that. Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want that.
Let them know we don't want that either.
Like, the girls at AFTERBUZZ said, you have to keep me loyal. And the way that I look at that though is we talk about just the episode where it's everybody's somebody's guy until they're your guy.
Yeah.
And I like to think that you're her guy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so there would have to be some like moral line or something that you guys just don't agree on to kind of make that happen, to where we would feel justified in being like, okay, like Blake has to fight for his own belief in this situation. And why would they do that?
He's got a look on his face like that might happen.
No.
At least not yet. That has not happened in any episode that we filmed so far.
I think you're her guy.
I am. I really am. And I love that.
Well, so do I. So do we. I'll speak for everybody. So do we. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
That's fantastic. Maybe I should just stay awake at this point.
Just till tomorrow.
It's already almost sunrise there, huh?
It's
Aw.
Columbus Day. I have nothing to do.
I think you should try to get at least some sleep.
Okay.
Okay. Just,
But thank you for having me on. This was
Thank you
fun. I
so
can't see you,
much.
but I've been looking at myself for the past hour. But
Could be worse.
You could be looking at us.
They've been looking at you for the past.
We've been looking at you too on
We've
the
all-
big screen. So
Yes.
I'm working with any hair and makeup, by the way, at this. So if anything that you're seeing is very raw.
you were one of the New York's most eligible bachelors, right?
Most successful.
No, I think it was eligible. I voted for you today.
You have to tell us. Was
You're
it
welcome.
eligible or
You're
successful?
welcome. That one. If you win by one vote, you can thank me. That was. I saw that
Which is
today.
it though? Eligible or successful?
It's eligible.
No, I think it's successful, which is
It's
really
successful
sad.
and eligible.
You can pull as much as you want for that.
Well, where can your fans find you on Twitter, Eric?
Oh, I'm at Erich Bergen, but it's spelled with an H, so it's ERICHBERGEN.
Wonderful. Where can I find you, Miss Sterling?
Oh, thanks for asking. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates.
And I am your host, Courtney Henderson. I can be found on Twitter and Instagram at COUHEN. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode.
See you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.